So some people, I know a lot of you here know who Ray Epps is. You know the backstory. You know this stuff, but it's surprising to me how many people I have literally had conversations with in real life who don't know who this guy is or know anything about him, including, I mean, I haven't talked to them personally, but the FBI doesn't know anything about him. And that's really the story here, is that the FBI doesn't know who Ray Epps is. So for their sake and for everyone else's sake who's just as stupid as the FBI, we're going to talk about Ray Epps and why he matters, because the January 6th shit is back on the TV. It's, we've got, I'm sure it has nothing to do with election season or anything that's happening currently, kicking off right now, anything like that. But, yeah, January 6th is back in the news, and Thomas Massey was back in the news talking about the Ray Epps thing in particular. But before we get to the now, we got to talk about the history a little bit. So here's what happened. This was, I think, a year ago. Yeah, September 21st
just do a
last
quick
year.
breakdown?
Yeah.
I'll do a quick breakdown of who Ray Epps is. He is the cop that was during the George Floyd protests. He was walking by, smashing windows and starting riots.
Right.
Like instigating. That's Ray Epps, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Or maybe he was
burned a Starbucks.
No, that's not him. That's not him. He's the guy. He was one of the guys that plotted against Governor Whitmer to have her kidnapped and murdered in some log cabin. That was Ray Epps.
What? Really?
That's him. Yeah. Right?
I mean, was he one of the, what was it, 8 that plotted that?
Yeah, there was like 8 or 9 of them.
Yeah.
I think he was one of them. Right?
I don't know exactly if it was him or a coworker, but either way, yes, we'll talk. We'll talk more. Here's a flashback.
Myself and 3 members of this committee, Chip Roy, Ken Buck, and Tom McClintock, issued a statement urging people not to come here, to accept the results of the electors. And so today I don't have an ideological axe to grind either. I find it odd that you all are defending one of the people who assaulted the Capitol.
Defending who?
Wait, no, this is not a flashback yet. We'll get to a flashback. This is the now. This just happened recently.
One of the people who assaulted the Capitol.
Defending who?
Ray Epps.
I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
That's the resolution.
Okay, well, I'll reclaim my time here.
And it's important to point out that this is now. We live in the future now. We live in now, and not then now. Back when, we don't live back when January 6th happened, when we all knew who Ray Epps was back then. No, we live in now, and the FBI still doesn't have a fucking clue who this guy is. So, we're going to tell them. Here's some clips from January 6th. Ray Epps. This is just the smash cut of some of the better stuff.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? Tomorrow? I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go. I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
I did not put that in there. This is somebody else's video. I did not say shut the fuck up, Boomer, but I would.
The president is done speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are.
Where our problems are. I mean, could you say I'm a Fed any louder than we have to do this thing? I'm going to get arrested, but I'm going to say it. Let's go to the Capitol, where the problems come from. You plebs, you feel oppressed. That's where the problems are. It's just really creepy.
Oddly,
language.
The only person at the Capitol who hasn't been arrested.
Yes.
But continue.
No spoilers.
That direction. Please spread the word. All right. No, Dave, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
are we going to get arrested if we go up there?
When we go in, leave this here. Not if we go in. He's still saying we're going in, we're going in, we're going in.
We don't need to get shot.
In fact, he's the only person that I've seen on video saying we are going into the Capitol at all. Of all these thousands of people that were there to carry out this plot, he's the only one that said the plot out loud over and over again, repeatedly on video.
There was another light-skinned black guy. I don't know if you remember this. It's kind of buried in the news. He was maybe like an Antifa activist. We knew about him. They knew about him, and he did the same thing too.
I did read about him. I don't remember his name.
He slid away.
Yeah. He was a little bit more subtle in his tactics, so that Fed or Antifa member or whatever, I mean, I don't care about him as much. Maybe we should. Maybe we're focusing on, maybe this is all a distraction, but I'm going to be distracted today. Here's Ray Epps. So Ray Epps walks up and he's whispering in some kid's ear, and then all of a sudden everybody jumps through the barrier. The very first breaking, he's there whispering in people's ears, which is like, I don't know, that's like storybook the devil whispering in your ear shit right there. And then hell breaks loose, and then you're a terrorist for the rest of your life, or in prison, or both.
Yeah. What do you think he said?
Fucking go, man. Come on, bro. Let's do it.
Do it, bro. I'll suck your dick later. Do it. What could he possibly have told me to do that?
Dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, after you've heard this guy, it's like he emerged as the leader, and he was like a leader, or like one of the leaders in what's the group? What's the group that he was in? It's not the Proud Boys. It's the other one.
Yeah,
the Oath
it's
Keepers.
the obvious feds. Oh
Yes.
no, who are those guys?
The feds, I suppose. So the weird thing is, we have this video, we have all this stuff that's very compelling and condemning and bad, and also he's the leader of, or one of the leaders of the Oath Keepers, which the media has smeared as being a terrorist organization, basically, or at the very least a white supremacist organization, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Ray Epps is a victim. Okay?
Really? Or is that what they're claiming?
We'll get there. But first, more from Rep Massey. This is the flashback here, where he's showing them the clips that we just watched, showing the January 6th committee or whatever the fuck. And here's what was said.
All right, you have those images there, and they're captioned. They were from January 5th and January 6th. As far as we can determine, the individual who was saying he'll probably go to jail, he'll probably be arrested, but but they need to go into the Capitol the next day, is then the next day directing people to the Capitol. And as far as we can find, this individual has not been charged with anything. You said this is one of the most sweeping investigations in the history. Have you seen that video or those frames from that video?
So as I said at the outset, one of the norms of the Justice Department is to not comment on impending investigations, and particularly not to comment about particular scenes.
Now, I don't know how these things work, particularly, but if you're having a hearing about January 6th and you're not allowed to talk about the case of January 6th, kind of... Now, I'm not a smart man. I don't know how these things work, again. And nobody's making... Probably he's right about... There's some level of rightness to what he's saying here, but just seems off to me. How about you?
I think... no, it seems... it follows because... you know, like these kind of organizations don't usually divulge when they're doing internal investigations.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all the external stuff, whatever happened January 6th, sure. But they're investigating themselves here, so it's a little bit different.
It's more important.
You have to wait 30, 40 years
right.
for that to come out.
Maybe in 50 years we'll get a redacted version of this.
Yeah.
Now, they go back and forth on this.
The concerns that people have that there were federal agents or assets of the federal government present on January 5th and January 6th. Can you tell us, without talking about particular incidents or particular videos, how many agents or assets of the federal government were present on January 6th, whether they agitated to go into the Capitol, and if any of them did?
So I'm not going to violate this norm of the rule of law. I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing.
You know, regardless of what the law is on this, I feel like even if the law says not to comment somewhere in it, if it's a no, you would say it. Like, yeah. If it was an obvious no, obviously, like, this is a terrible thing that happened. This is the almost overthrow of our democracy. We were one grandma away from losing our democracy entirely, and you're not going to say no when it's, I mean, it has to be a no, right? You would say no, I feel like.
It's funny as like the opposition will say, oh, well, Trump pleaded the fifth, so therefore he must be hiding something. It's like, but when it happens the other way and it's so obvious, it's just no one's even paying attention.
Don't ask the questions that everybody's asking. Just look over there. We're not allowed to answer them.
Quick plug to my boy Jose in the chat. He said all the major militia groups are chock full of feds, especially in leadership. And he has he might have finished or it's still ongoing. It's like a 7 or 8 part series about the OKC bombing.
Nice.
And he talks with Richard Booth. And if you want to see like Ray Epps type shit, like feds everywhere, check that out. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And infuriating.
It should be, especially since they're pretending like they don't know who their most wanted list number 16 from January 6th is. Didn't even make it to 20. Like he was up there. Like if this was a charting song, you would be stoked about your ability to get this much attention. The FBI was posting all about this guy. His picture was it says the FBI WFO is seeking the public's assistance in identifying those who made unlawful entry into the U.S. Capitol, January 6th, if you find them, blah, blah, blah. And they've got Ray Epps, number 16 there. And now, flashing forward, the January 6th committee on January 11th of this year said the select committee is aware of unsupported claims that Ray Epps was an FBI informant based on the fact that he was on the FBI wanted list and then was removed from that list without being charged. Reading on. The committee has interviewed Epps. Epps informed us that he was not employed by, working with, or acting at the direction of any law enforcement agency on January 5th or January 6th or at any other time, and that he has never been an informant for the FBI or any other law enforcement agency. So I feel like the case is closed there. We asked him, did you do that terrible thing that people are saying you did? And are you that terrible person that they're saying you are? And he said, nah.
Case closed.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to discuss here? He said no. What do you want from us? We are the crime fighting arm of the U.S. government, and we asked him, and he said no. So naturally, it's fine.
I believe that like the government is dumb enough to give this answer to people.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to believe constantly is that people will accept it, which makes me really feel like we're in a simulation of some type.
Yeah. I mean, are people literally? I mean, my most white-pilled version of this is that they're just not paying attention, and they're kind of right to not pay attention because a lot of this is distraction from real life things that they should be focusing on more than whether or not Ted Cruz gets an answer out of this guy or not. But at the same time, as your government is like, taking away parts of your future potentially and labeling you as a terrorist, whether you know about it or not, it is currently happening. So maybe pay a little bit of attention, maybe know when things like this are happening. That's what we try to do here while laughing at it. But this was we've got several of these, so hang in there, folks. We're talking about Ray Epps. That's what we're here to do. Ted Cruz. I'm trying to get this all into one package here that everybody can digest this Ray Epps fellow and who he is.
How many FBI agents or confidential informants actively participated in the events of January 6th?
Sir, I'm sure you can appreciate that I can't go into the specifics of sources and methods.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants actively participate in the events of January 6th? Yes or no?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Did any FBI agents or confidential informants commit crimes of violence on January 6th?
Any guess to what her answer is going to be?
I can't answer that, sir.
Did any FBI agents or FBI informants actively encourage and incite crimes of violence on January 6th?
Sir, I can't answer that.
Ms. Sadburn, who is Ray Epps?
I'm aware of the individual, sir.
At least she
I don't have
knows.
the specific background to him.
Oh, she doesn't have the specific background.
There are a lot of people who are...
So, yeah, you get the point.
Employee file pulled up.
What's that?
I said I don't have his employee file pulled up right now.
Right. Yeah, just, I mean, again, definitely not a no, which would be a really easy answer if it was. The plot thickens. Like I said, he's not just not a Fed. He's a victim of this. I personally feel bad for him because newschurn.com, so you know it's legit, says how Ray Epps grew to become the sufferer of a January 6th conspiracy idea. Conspiracy idea. That's a new phrase. Conspiracy ideas now. Also, Ray Epps reveals how his life has been ruined after conspiracists claimed he was FBI informant on January 6th riot. And the New York, which one is it? New York Times? One of the, I don't know, one of the big ones. New York Post? I don't know. They're all the same to me. They're the ones who started this whole feel bad for this guy because conspiracy theorists are attacking him. They're calling him a Fed. It's odd. Right. Well, it's really odd because you are calling everyone else that was involved in January 6th terrorists. But this guy, who was the only person that I've seen inciting the actual instigation of this, and you're calling him a victim. Do you feel bad for this poor soul, Ray Epps, Top?
No, not even a little bit. I mean, he's doing just fine. He's collecting his paycheck from the FBI or the CIA or whatever three-letter agency put him up to this.
Yeah.
He's doing just fine. I feel bad for the people who are still in solitary confinement, which I believe there are quite a few. Am I wrong here?
There are quite a few, and how many of those people are seen on video multiple times saying, when we get there, we have to go into the Capitol, and I will probably get arrested for saying this. Go into the Capitol. That's where the evil is. Go into the Capitol. I mean, come on.
There's zero.
Come on.
Yeah.
So, shortly after January 6th, Ray Epps was, because the internet and its beautiful autistic wonderfulness, it unleashed its weaponized autism and found Ray Epps, figured out who he was long before the FBI did. The FBI also removed him. They scrubbed him from their wanted list shortly after, but, I mean, there's nothing alarming about that. If somebody's on the FBI's most wanted list, they can just not be. But this is the interaction with some kids who tracked him down at his ranch, which I don't know is the best idea. But here's what happened.
With pure politics, I've been trying to get a hold of you. We met January 5th.
We're patriots. We're patriots.
Well, do you remember me from January 6th?
I understand that, but I can't say anything.
Are you still under investigation by the FBI?
Are you a federal informant?
Is there a reason why the FBI took you off the most wanted list?
Are you a federal informant? Ray Epps? Are you a federal informant? That's Ray Epps, alleged federal informant.
Like always, like, are you a federal informant? Are you? He is. He's a federal informant.
What does Ray Epps do for a living? I mean, I think that's a better question because he has a ranch there. It's really nice.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of digging. I haven't seen even an occupation, but they claim that he's very well known in his church community and in his very wholesome patriot group called the Oath Keepers, which I guess is not a terrorist organization when it works for our story here, and it is a terrorist organization when it doesn't. But I
want to reference the chat here for a second. When
Sure.
I asked you, I said, what do you think he whispered into that kid's ear for him to just go ahead and like bum rush the barricade? And Jack Casey said some kind of trigger phrase, a reference to MK Ultra, and I'm like, man, this goes deep, man.
The white rabbit hops at dawn. Shut the fuck.
Behold the pale horse. Yeah,
Yep.
man. Who knows? I believe that shit too.
Yeah. I mean, MK Ultra isn't so much conspiracy theory as it is forgotten history that is declassified and has a Wikipedia page. But you'll be a conspiracy theorist if you talk about, the government literally trying to brainwash people using psychedelics forcibly.
The conspiracy theory, I guess, that would be legitimate for people to question is how far along they got with their findings and can they recreate them? And looking around, I say yes.
I mean, that's assuming that they stopped doing it when they did. I mean, how far along they got, I would say that probably pretty far, because I would imagine they're still doing it. Just because they don't have the organization currently, I'm not buying it. The government's like, man, we are corrupt. Let's shut this shit down. These people don't like it. No,
what I mean is
it's a rebrand.
I don't think that they shut it down because they received backlash over what was happening. I feel like maybe they're like, oh, we figured it out.
Yeah.
You need exactly this much LSD and exactly this much Nirvana into your ear for however long, and they and
It's
boom.
kind of like going to the moon. That's why we haven't gone in 50 years, because we're like, oh, we did that. We don't need to go again. The government never goes overboard with these things for no reason.
As a matter of fact, we destroyed all the paperwork and the shit
Yep.
that got it.
All the telemetry data. I mean, what? We're not a storage facility or a library. I mean, the libraries would really like to have those things if you had offered it to them. So we burned it anyway, because that's how science works.
I think it was. I remember reading it was like a special tape, right? Like that they had to record this data on.
Yeah, the
and they
telemetry data.
Yeah, they recorded over it. I'm pretty sure that's what
My daughter's ballet
remember.
recital was happening that Saturday. I mean, what choice did I have?
Or it's just other telemetry data that didn't go anywhere, and they just recorded them.
Yeah, I think at one point they said they recorded over it, and at another point they were like, "We don't have the machine to play that anymore." And then somebody was like, "Well, if I found the machine, can you show me the stuff? And if I'll go find the machine or something. I'll create the machine. I have to figure this out." And they're like, "Actually, we don't have it. It's gone. Shut up. Shut up. Don't talk about it."
He throws a smoke bomb and runs out the room.
Oh man, much like Ray Epps did, because Ray Epps is who we're talking about, and the reason why Ray Epps was scrubbed from the suspect list was because he wasn't he was no longer unidentified.
Oh, that makes sense.
I mean, they're just trying to identify these people, and they're like, "Hey, thank you, Autistic Internet. Thank you for identifying this man for us. Now we don't need to find him anymore. It's fine. Move on."
They found out that he's one of us.
Right. We identified him, and we identified him as a Fed, and then we're like, well, maybe we shouldn't talk about this anymore. But
Yeah.
a lot of people have called Thomas Massie a conspiracy theorist, because basically Thomas Massie is to Ray Epps what Rand Paul is to Anthony Fauci at this point. He's been the one who's kind of leading the charge on this. I don't know why, but I'm glad he is. I'm glad we have somebody up there doing it. And a lot of people have called him conspiracy theorist. And, you know, if you look up these things, if you look up Ray Epps conspiracy theory, or look up Ray Epps was a Fed or something like that on YouTube, you'll probably just get a bunch of debunking saying that Thomas Massie is a crazy person. And the reasons that I've found so far for to not believe that he's a Fed is because of videos like this.
I would have came locked and loaded.
That's not Ray Epps talking, for the audio listener. Ray Epps is walking up to calm this guy
I
down.
knew this was happening.
Take a step back. Take a step back. We're holding ground. We're not trying to get people hurt. They don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get hurt. Just back up.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Fresh out of preschool, ain't you, boy?
Hey, it doesn't matter. We made our point. You don't want to take away with what we did.
So now he's saying, it doesn't matter. We made our point. We don't want to take away from what we did here. And what they don't tell you is that this was like an hour, I'm pretty sure, an hour after most of the rioting stuff happened. So at this point, I mean, as a crazy conspiracy theorist, I'm like, so what you're saying is after he had already instigated this whole thing and achieved his goal, he's like, well, we achieved our goal, so you guys can calm down now. No, we got it. Now get me on tape real quick saying we achieved our goal so we can use that later. I don't know. What do you think about this stuff?
I think we have merciful masters. If they wanted just enough to pin you for treason, but not enough for you to actually go in there and get hurt.
Yeah.
So thank God for, you know what, man, I'm starting to sympathize with Ray Epps here. He's not such a bad guy.
Yeah. He's really empathetic. I mean, he cares about these people. He doesn't want them getting crazy or anything. Doesn't want them going into the Capitol. That's another thing. Ray Epps. Oh, I forgot to mention. Ray Epps was from, I think, Arizona, and he traveled to D.C. to hear Trump's speech, is what we're told. To hear Trump's speech. And I don't know if he got lost, because he was there on January 5th. He was there a day early. And then on January 6th, he ended up at the Capitol and didn't. I mean, it's sad for him, really, that he didn't get to see any of Trump's speech. I don't know why he wouldn't have gone to the speech first and then gone over to the Capitol after, but I don't know. I don't know what was going on at the Capitol that made him decide to skip the one event that he traveled from Arizona to D.C. to witness, but I don't know.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was watching it live, and yeah, it almost like brought a tear to my eye, because when that Trump speech finished and they were marching on the Capitol, I just had like a bad feeling in my stomach. I was like, this is Yeah, it felt like I couldn't explain it at the time, but it felt like, oh, this is like a turning. This is a turning in our political landscape, or just in America in general. That like I think we'll look back on that day and be like, that was not because it was terrible, but because of what was being set up there.
Yeah.
Man, it's freaky when you really think about the coordination of it.
Yeah, and when you think about everything that's transpired from then till now, where
Yeah.
like, don't get me wrong, I think the Capitol thing was retarded. I don't think they had a goal. I don't think it was orchestrated. I think it was a riot. I think it got out of hand, and stupid people doing stupid things. And now, because of that stupidity, you don't have Trump in the White House. I don't know if you've noticed, but he hasn't been reinstated. Maybe any day now. Who knows? But sorry, Q guys. You guys got me kicked off Twitter or off of Facebook, so fuck you. But they weren't going to get their goal, or what the media claims to be their goal, of reinstating Trump. So what you got was, now you have the president of the United States, the current one allegedly, Joseph Robinette Biden, hail and praise be, or whatever we're supposed to say. You have him coming out and demonizing an entire swath of people. The like 50% at least of the country is now on a terrorist watch list, basically. That might be a little bit hyperbolic, but give it a week. Coming out, giving a speech saying that these MAGA Republicans, which really just means anybody that disagrees with the regime, are they're bad, they're evil, they need to be taken care of, but we can all unite and overcome this together. It's like, whether or not you like that the people were at the Capitol, you gotta look at it and see where we've gone through all these talking points of demonization, maggots, and shit, like dehumanizing, to now it's like, fuck these people, they should all be wiped out. And I've had conversations with people online who are like, these people don't need dehumanizing, they're not human. It's like, okay, and now we are to this. I have a hard time thinking that all of this setup that worked so perfectly to demonize anybody who's against the regime, now we live here where we're all like, it worked perfectly. I don't know if that was the goal, but it sure worked out conveniently in their favor. That stupid thing that you guys did got us all talking about how evil we are. I don't know. I'm rambling. Top thoughts.
Yeah, and they knew exactly how much of that stupid thing you needed to do. You have that video right there of Ray Epps saying like, that's enough. Like, he probably in his brain, or his handlers were like telling him like, we got the video that we needed.
Right.
We're gonna run these people through the gamut. We got exactly what we needed. And if there was stand down issues, if there was stand down orders in the Capitol that day, which they probably were. I mean, they opened up gates and they let people in.
Yep.
Probably took those stand down orders down after about an hour or so, and they were probably ready to Ashley Babbitt anyone else who went in there.
Yep.
It's just freaky, the level of coordination that even though it's childish, like when you really understand what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's freaky that just that little bit can turn your whole life upside down, or take liberty away from your children.
Right.
A stupid event. Yeah.
Yeah, whether they incited this or not, they got exactly what they wanted out of it, and they're stoked to have that. So,
yeah. Often when I look at a conspiracy theory, it's fun to look at it for what it is, but then the most important thing is to look at who benefits from this.
Right.
What happened afterward, and that's usually you'll find like at least the truth of what may have happened, or who may have orchestrated it, who benefits.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
So we've got a few more things here on Ray, because we're going to beat this dead horse until Ray Epps is famous. Hashtag make Ray Epps famous. And buy the shirt. Make Ray Epps famous. Systemsdown.tv. Best Liberty shirt store in the galaxy.
That's not true. Yes.
In the fake galaxy. Thomas Massey also recently had this interaction where he's recalling some of the things that we've played here today, and I'm sure within the last year since that first video, the FBI has figured out who that guy was who was number 16 on their most wanted list on January 6th.
Nearly a year ago, Attorney General Merrick Garland has had a year to clear this up, but because nearly a year ago, I asked him, can you tell us, without talking about particular incidents or particular videos, how many agents or assets of the federal government were present on January 6th? Whether they agitated to go into the Capitol, and if any of them did. What was his answer? He could have stopped it right there. He could have told America, he could have looked at the screen, and he could have said, no, I can assure you that did not happen. And instead, he said, I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing. He believes that FBI policy trumps the ability of this committee to have oversight into what the DOJ has done. It doesn't trump our ability. Similarly, during a Senate hearing on January 11th, 2022, Senator Ted Cruz asked then FBI official Jill Sanborn, did federal agents or those in the service of federal agents actively encourage violent and criminal conduct on January 6th? In response, Sanborn stated, quote, not to my knowledge, sir. Senator Cruz then asked, was Ray Epps a Fed? And at this point, the FBI could have put this to rest. There's nothing in the law that says she couldn't answer this question. In fact, I would argue that the Constitution compels her to answer the question to a member of the Senate. But instead, she said, sir, I cannot answer that question. Mr. Chairman, this is a pretty simple question that goes to the heart of America's trust in their government. If Ray Epps was not working with federal law enforcement, they should say that without equivocation. If there were FBI agents or assets present at the Capitol on January 6th, the American people deserve to know. This resolution of inquiry would help us get answers to these questions. I urge support, and I yield back.
So, still fighting the good fight, Mr. Massey there. Again, if we're beating a dead horse at any point, let me know, and I will keep doing it because we're going to play all this shit. Raskin. Oh, man, there's a couple more here. We got to play them. Let's see.
Hey, Dan, do you think so? One of the first things that January 6th, so the riots there affected was I think they were doing hearings. I think I was watching that. I was like multi-streaming Trump talking and watching like these like weird hearings in the Capitol where they were bring forth testimony about whatever happened in their state. Yeah. And that was like axed. That was the first thing. Forget about the Patriot Act stuff that is happening to us now. That was the first thing that happened. Do you think anything plays out differently? Because I know when they came back from their hiding holes, you know, they evacuated all of them. When they came back, some of the Republicans that were skeptical or testifying against the election decided to say, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to even bother. We just have to move forward with it. Like there's some part of history there that could have went untold or was changed. Like what was it served so many purposes for the regime.
So they're like, we're here to discuss whether or not this election is legit, and then suddenly something got in the way of that, and we're not going to talk about that anymore. Let's just talk about January 6th for the next 4 fucking years. Again, they got what they wanted out of this. Whether it was that direct or not, it worked great.
Yeah, but like the immediate thing was like, I think they were bringing, it wasn't just necessarily about the election. It was about whether they're going to certify the votes to certain states. That's what that was about. I thought that was a big deal. Like whether you believe this or that about the election, something was happening, and they all came back really spooked.
Right.
Like they went underground, and then they came back from underground, and people had different attitudes, you know, except for a handful.
So
strange.
You think that I don't know. Do you think that anybody who was in hiding there is in on this? Like, if this were some sort of elaborate hoax of some sort or a false flag set up, do you think any of these people were aware of it?
I don't know. I think you know, the major players like a Nancy Pelosi was aware of it. Maybe even an AOC. She was you know, some of her lies are oddly timed and convenient. Probably not. She's not really involved. But I don't know.
She was scared out of her mind when before the attacks happened, somebody came into her office and said, "Where is she?" It was a janitor. It was a janitor. Oh, well, you found her hiding in the closet before anything happened. But whatever.
Yeah, I
believe all women. Hashtag believe all women.
Well, that's my motto. I have that tattooed on my chest. But
I have it as a tramp stamp, actually.
That's a better move. So I should put it there so when my wife is pegging me, she'll be like, yeah, you know. All right.
There you go.
That was maybe a little too far for the show, but whatever.
Like, I believe you. I believe you, honey. Keep going.
Keep going. You're doing great. I don't know how far down the conspiracy hole I want to go, but attitudes definitely did change after they reconvened.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Something I think about.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't have the answer, and I don't know. And in all the conspiracy stuff, I always, probably to an annoying degree, I'm like, okay, let's look at this from a non-conspiracy, like try and steel man this argument or what have you. And it's like, even whether not to whatever negate your question, but it doesn't really matter. Doesn't like all that matters is what they got out of this, and they got a lot out of this, and they're still getting out of it. They're still getting at the very least primetime television right before election season. But
Are they though? Are they? Anyone
well,
watching?
no, not even us. That's really what we should be talking about right now. But fuck them. We're gonna talk about this one instead, and I don't remember what clip this is. So at this point, fuck it. We're going long-winded here. Let's just watch the clip and talk about it.
Mr. Epps was in
I
front
pulled
of
it
the
up for a
January
reason,
6th
I'm sure.
committee, and we were told that a transcript of his interview would be released, but it's never been released. And I wondered, was he sworn
None
in?
of the transcripts have been released, so you don't need a conspiracy theory about that. We haven't released any.
Oh yeah, this is his explosion
You
response.
present
Great.
when he was interviewed? That would give me
No,
some.
I was not. I was not. We've done more than 1,000 interviews. You guys are trying to make this poor schmuck who showed up to your protest into something a lot bigger than he is. Okay? He's just trying to survive, and he's on your side.
He's just trying to survive. The only guy that you have doing the thing that you said they were there to do. He's just trying to survive. He's a poor schmuck.
You don't have many voters left. You might want to try to hang on to them without demonizing and vilifying your own people.
Oh.
That's the Donald Trump way.
Oh.
Sell everybody else down the road.
Oh.
Unless you can get a pardon.
Mm.
Some people are still
Just
hanging around
can't-
waiting for their pardon.
Just the way he talks is so fucking annoying. Oh, just leave Ray Epps alone, damn it. Leave this poor schmuck alone. Oh, God. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what's more pitiful, that kind of cadence, or like seeing them hiding under the chairs during January 6th.
Matt Gaetz did another thing, and I think this one I had pulled up mostly for the response, and then I think we have one more. I promise. I'll leave this. I'll stop beating this dead horse momentarily.
It's quite something to hear like the crocodile tears from Mr. Epps on the left when he is the only person. We have direct video evidence was encouraging folks to go inside the Capitol. That's what we need answers on.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Does the gentleman insist on this point of order?
Yes, I do. First of all, on the point of order, both the gentleman from Florida and the gentleman from Kentucky just explained what's wrong with this amendment, because they said they've had a change of heart. They want to extend it from Ray Epps to all the agents and assets of the federal government, presumably all of the right-wing Republican congressmen who were encouraging protesters to enter the Capitol building that night too. But in any event, that sweeps way beyond the original resolution. So if you want to do that, you're going to have to put in another resolution, because we were just assured for the last several hours that all this concerned was one guy, Ray Epps, and what he did, and now suddenly you want to rewrite the entire resolution. So I will insist upon my point of order.
The gentleman is...
So basically, we can't answer that question because you're talking about more than just Ray Epps, and we're only here to talk about Ray Epps, and he has nothing to do with the big picture here. And his his continuation here, he has an addendum to his stupid statement, and it's beautiful.
But I'd like to make one other point, if I could, Mr. Chair, before I break, which is I believe my friend from Florida just described federal law enforcement officers as cockroaches.
Does he have time to speak? He's made
Of course, I don't believe they're cockroaches. I was describing their propensity to be behind the wall, invisible or not. And so
would you withdraw that comment, calling feds cockroaches? Would you withdraw that?
My characterization wasn't intended to be derogatory. It was intended to describe...
They're arguing over him calling feds cockroaches, which if he did, I would respect him more, but Matt Gaetz is backpedaling. But wow, now we're supposed to feel bad for calling feds names.
Yeah, what about their feelings?
Right.
What about Fed feelings?
All
Who gives a
feds
shit?
matter, I think.
Yeah.
Or something.
The correct answer to that is unabashedly yes. And see what he says.
Glow
Just
lives
look him right in the
matter.
eyes.
Yes. Yes, I am. I am calling them cockroaches.
Did I stutter?
Yeah. Oh Lord, this one. Why do I have all these? Okay. This is the last one, I swear. Then we're gonna jump over to the after party. Thank you guys for hanging in there while we do this, because somebody has to do it, and I'm sure everybody. There's lots of other people that are doing it, but I'm gonna pretend like I'm the only one. Any fake super chats in the super chats? No. All right. If you want to get them in before we jump over, do so now, because this is it. This is it.
Mr. Olson, on July 28, 2020, you signed a public letter attacking the Trump administration for using Department of Homeland Security officers.
This is Tom Cotton, by the way.
To help protect the federal courthouse.
Do you know anything about Tom Cotton?
No, sounds racist though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why this is reloading, but hey, we weren't like pressed for time or anything here. Thank you, YouTube. I'm sure you're playing ads on my videos that are playing ads on your stupid fucking platform while you monetize my shit and give me no money. I appreciate it.
That letter stated, quote, plainclothes officers in unmarked vehicles should be used only in limited capacities and clearly identified circumstances. Crowd control is not among those circumstances. Mr. Olson, on January 6, 2021, did the Department of Justice or FBI have any plainclothes officers among the crowd at the Capitol?
Senator, I'm not aware of whether or not there were plainclothes officers among the crowd at the Capitol on July 6th.
How the hell should I know?
Did any plainclothes officers enter the Capitol on January 6th?
I don't know the answer to that, Senator.
I mean, in fairness, his first question was, were there any plainclothes officers there? And he couldn't answer that one. So if your follow-up is, did any of them go into the Capitol? The answer is going to be pretty obviously, I don't know that either. Because I didn't even know there were any there. This is all news.
Excuse me, sir, I'm a government employee. I have no idea.
Yep.
Like, oh, it's true.
Mr. Olson, I got to say, your answers to many questions today are disappointing because they boil down to essentially, I don't know. Did you prepare for this hearing? Did you know this hearing was happening before this morning?
The direct answer, yes, I prepared extensively, Senator. Many of the questions are about specific facts that I don't have.
Well, I mean, I do think that
one of the most important points that I would emphasize is, it's against a general matter. It's not appropriate to comment on ongoing investigations.
Well, I didn't ask you about an ongoing investigation. I just flipped to the cover of my binder here. It says the title of this hearing is the domestic terrorism threat 1 year after January 6th. The Attorney General has repeatedly said this is one of the department's highest priority. You're testifying at a hearing about the domestic terrorism threat 1 year after January 6th. You can't answer questions about how many people have been charged for events arising out of January 6th. Would you go into a briefing with the Attorney General, your boss, and not be able to answer such basic questions?
On the last question you asked, Senator, over 700 people have been charged in connection with January 6th. About 325 have been charged with serious felonies in connection with attacks on the
10 minutes ago, Senator Cruz asked you this series of questions, and you didn't have the answer. You didn't have the answer for how many people have been charged with violent offenses or nonviolent offenses.
I love how catty this dude is. I'm not super familiar with Tom Cotton, but I love how he's not giving him anything. He's like, no, you said that, and looks here like this is what we're on the agenda to talk about today. Did you show up here planning to talk about the thing that's on the agenda to talk about today, or are you stupid? The guy's just like, I have no way of answering that question.
Should have called him a cockroach at the end.
Oh, that's too mean.
Yeah.
You didn't give an answer in the last 10 minutes?
I'm sorry if I misunderstood, Senator, but I believe that Senator Cruz was asking me about other events, not the January 6th event.
Okay, let's turn to another issue that came up earlier today, Ray Epps. During the January 6th riots last year, Mr. Epps was caught on video several times. He seemed to encourage people to enter the Capitol to break down police barriers. Video from the rallies, or from the rally down the National Mall earlier that day shows him doing the same thing. Video even from the night before shows him encouraging people to enter the Capitol. Ray Epps lives in Arizona. He didn't exactly go underground after January 6th. He even gave an interview to local media, and he was well known to the Department of Justice. He was on the FBI's Capitol riot most wanted page just days after January 6th. In fact, he was one of the first 16 suspects added to that most wanted page on your website. It does not appear that he's been arrested or charged in any offense. In July, without explanation, he was removed from the FBI's most wanted page. Mr. Olson, who is Ray Epps, and why was he removed from the FBI's most wanted list?
Senator, I don't have any information about that individual.
None.
Ms. Sanborn for any additional.
So
a year later, they still don't know who this guy is. And I play that. Yes, that was a brief recap of literally everything that we just talked about. But just to show you now, and this was, I guess this was back in January this year. But still, a year after, they still have no idea who this guy is. And even today, they have no idea who Ray Epps is, regardless of what they've said and them asking us to identify Ray Epps for them, because the FBI doesn't know how to, like, I don't know, look at the picture and then look at the video and find that they not only can't find this guy, they have no idea who he is, even though they've interviewed him. And I think Tom Cotton also asked him, he asked him if you were there for the interview and all that, and he was like, no, I wasn't there for the interview. I don't know anything about this interview. What are you talking about? It's just... I beat this into the ground because it is impressive levels of stupid at this point. It is impressively, flagrantly in your face brazen. We don't care that you know that we're lying. We are lying. We are fine with you knowing it because you're not going to do anything. Who gives a shit about you?
Reminds me of the Dave Chappelle skit with Rick James.
Yeah.
Where he's like, you remember grinding your feet into Eddie Murphy's couch? He's like, yeah, I remember grinding my feet. And they clip back to him. He's like, I would never grind my feet into Eddie Murphy's couch. And he's like, cocaine's a hell of a drug. That's what's going on here.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to give the benefit of the doubt that cocaine is the best explanation I can come up with for these people knowing less about their own guy than we know about their own guy. But we're going to get out of here and stop talking about Ray Epps. Top, do you have any final thoughts on anything we've talked about today? Primarily Ray Epps, but anything at all that you think is the most important thing in the world right now?
If anything has really solidified here from our conversation is that space is definitely fake and NASA definitely gay. So I really do appreciate you for really nailing that down for me.
And nobody
Yeah.
proves that better than Ray Epps.